Live from Memorial Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee, Tennessee Public Television presents the 2019 Tennessee Inaugural, the inauguration of Governor Bill Lee. Hello everyone, I'm Chip Hoback, your host, and welcome to our broadcast of the inauguration of Tennessee's 50th Governor, Bill Lee, Republican from Williamson County. We're coming to you from the historic War Memorial Auditorium. Due to unusual circumstances, the inauguration typically takes place outside on Legislative Plaza in front of the state capitol. But due to heavy rain, the event has been moved indoors. For everyone's safety, it's been a logistical challenge moving the event and television production as well. But everything is in place for the joint convention of the 111th Tennessee General Assembly to be convened about 11:25 a.m. local time. Once the convention is open, we'll hear a farewell speech from Governor Bill Haslam as he closes out 2 terms in office. And at noon, Bill Lee will be sworn in as governor by the Chief Justice of the Tennessee Supreme Court. Until then, we have a few very special guests joining us. First, we have Lane Arnold, the governor's press secretary. Very honored to have you here. Thank you very much.
We're excited to be here. You know, it's a rainy day in Nashville, but the enthusiasm is still high here in War Memorial Auditorium.
So how much of a challenge was that to move the event from outdoors? It's usually held on Legislative Plaza, and then moving it in, first of all, finding a location, and second of all, moving everything inside.
Exactly. Well, luckily, we have great teams to work with, and so we were able to weather this challenge pretty easily, but we were working on a quick timeline. We have a full house in here. And, you know, obviously we're sad that we're not in front of the Capitol today, but we're going to make it work and it's still going to be great.
I'm glad we're inside because it's nasty out there.
Me too. It's pretty bad out there.
Give us a little background on your involvement with the Governor Bill Lee's campaign and also being named the press secretary.
Absolutely. So I joined the governor-elect at the start of the general election back in August, and so we traveled all 95 counties together. I joined he and his wife Maria on the RV, and so we went another lap on all 95 counties. I'm honored to be joining his administration, and we're looking forward to getting that started today.
The challenge of Bill Lee becoming the governor, I mean, people in Middle Tennessee knew who Bill Lee was, mainly because of Lee Company, but you had to get his name spread across the state. How was that accomplished?
You know, the thing about the governor-elect is he is one of the warmest people that you will ever meet, and so we ended up going through all 95 counties twice over the course of the campaign, which was about a 2-year primary and general all combined, and so he and Maria figured out a very just effective tool that, you know what, we're going to get out and be grassroots campaigners, and so they hit every community, large and small, rural, urban, and just they hit the ground running, and so that's how we accomplished that.
Well, had a formidable candidate running against, and Carl Dean, the former mayor of Nashville, and it seemed like the campaign was pretty civil compared to a lot of the other campaigns around.
Sure, absolutely. It was really important for the governor-elect to compliment his opponent. You know, I think a lot of people have mentioned the ad where he referenced Carl Dean, the mayor, as a good man, and that's really true to who the governor-elect is. He was very clear that he wanted to be able to walk back into his church, back into his place of business, and still have the same reputation. And so it was very important for him to be kind on the campaign trail and embrace civility. So that was a really, really big theme.
Let's talk about the very beginning.
Absolutely.
Was Bill Lee approached, or did Bill Lee approach the Republican Party?
So this is something that he really feels like he was called to do. And so running for governor was the product of several years of prayer and thoughtful reflection on this. And so he and Maria actually decided that they were going to embark on this journey when they actually went on an RV trip over on the eastern seaboard to look at the foliage one fall. And so they prayed about it for about a year and really came to the conclusion that that was what they felt that God was calling them to do. So it was the culmination of a lot of reflection, a lot of prayer, and, you know, consulting family and people that are important to them, and this is where we are. We're proud to be here today.
The inauguration activities, there's a lot of them spread out over the next couple of days. Give us a little background. I know there's a website, believeintennessee.com, believeintn.com. So tell us a little bit about some of the inauguration activities.
Yes. So Believe in Tennessee was one of the biggest themes throughout the campaign, and so we really felt that that was important to carry that through on the inaugural front. And so this morning we actually started out with a worship service at the Grand Ole Opry. Originally it was scheduled to be out at the Ryman, but due to all the public interest, we had to end up moving it. And so we had a great crowd this morning. Between 2,500 and 2,700 people joined us. Very moving service with Michael W. Smith and Stephen Curtis Chapman, Nicole C. Mullen, some of the biggest names in music joined us this morning. It was very, very moving. As as you mentioned, we're getting ready to start the actual business of getting sworn in and governing. And also last night we welcomed Tennesseans from across the state to town with a little hockey talking on Broadway. Yep.
And then tomorrow there's also the executive residence will be open for tours.
Absolutely. We are still encouraging everyone to come out and join us. The residence is going to be open and you can meet the governor-elect, shake his hand. We're expecting a few thousand people to join us and get a full tour of the residence and just see the people's house. So the governor-elect and Maria are excited to welcome everyone out.
Well, although we can't be on the Legislative Plaza, the War Memorial Building is built to honor World War I. And the history of this building is quite unique as well with, you go back to Eisenhower and Nixon and Kennedy and all the different people that have campaigned here.
Absolutely. If we were going to have it in any other place, this is the place to do it. It's rich with history. We really love the veterans component. There are so many themes that are perfect for Historic Day. And so although we're sad we won't have that iconic shot in front of the Capitol, we are certainly thrilled that we could be here in a place that's rich with history.
Well, you got to hit the ground running. There's a lot to do with the legislature being in session. So what's the first week in office going to be like?
So we have been really intentional. The governor-elect has talked a lot about the goals that he set out to accomplish. So the first big goal that we wanted to achieve was making sure that all of our cabinet appointments were in place before the swearing in. And so as of this week, we have all 23 cabinet members and commissioners named, so our departments are going to be in good hands to carry out a very conservative vision for Tennessee. So we have met that goal. Now we're moving to getting our arms around the budget, and it's very, very important that we keep Tennessee a low-tax state and stay fiscally healthy. And so the governor-elect has been really working through that budget to make sure we're in a good place. And so we will move towards presenting that budget in March with the State of the State address, and look forward to a very robust legislative package. He campaigned on the resurgence of vocational and technical training. That'll be a big part of it, and also criminal justice reform, rethinking our approach to public safety. So those are two big items that you can expect.
Well, congratulations and on your new job.
Yes,
and
thank you.
I know you've got a lot of busy days ahead of you.
Absolutely, sure thing. Well, we are thrilled to be here. Today is the start of hopefully 8 years of service, and we really appreciate y'all covering this event.
It's our pleasure as well. It's an honor to be here. Bill Lee is making history in just a few minutes by being sworn in to office as Tennessee's 50th governor. My next guest knows a lot about the history of Tennessee's governors and their inaugurations. Please say hello to State Librarian and Archivist, Mr. Chuck Sherrill. Well, how does it feel to be a part of history today? I know you've followed a lot of Tennessee history.
I have. It's great to be here and to be part of this 50th inaugural. It's an exciting event for us at the Library and Archives and folks all over Tennessee.
There's a few events that we want to talk about coming up. Some free entrance into some of the state's new things like the State Library and also the State Museum.
That's right. We have a new State Library and Archives currently under construction down on the Bicentennial Mall, and just across the mall, the new State Museum just opened its doors this fall and is open today, hoping to have a lot of inauguration visitors after the ceremony.
Tell us about the library.
The Library and Archives is now located next to the Capitol, where we have been since 1953. And we always have visitors who are doing research, but we also invite people in to look at exhibits. And our current exhibit is an exhibit about the 50 governors with pictures and information about each one.
And also the new Tennessee State Museum. I know the funds were passed with that through the legislature a couple of years ago. And from what I understand, it's quite a place.
Yes, the new museum is really something for Tennesseans to be proud of. I think it takes more than one visit to really get a grasp on all the things that are on exhibit and to really appreciate what's gone into telling Tennessee's story through the museum exhibits.
Well, inaugurations in the past. The first one wasn't even in Nashville, it was in Knoxville. And that's not the first time it's not been on Legislative Plaza as well. It's been moved around a couple times, Ryman Auditorium. Tell us about the history of the inaugurations.
Well, inaugurations have been held in a number of different places. The capital didn't actually come to Nashville until the late 1830s, so they were held in Murfreesboro and in Knoxville. And here in Nashville, the War Memorial Auditorium was first used in 1937 for Governor McCord. Prior to that, they used the Ryman Auditorium for many years, and prior to that, various places. One governor was even inaugurated at home because he wasn't well, so the inaugural team went down there and held the ceremony at his home.
Tell us about some of the more memorable things that have happened at inaugurations. I understand at one time there was a fire on Capitol Hill when they did the 21-gun salute, and the fire engines had to come up. They tried to put it out.
Yes.
Quite an interesting thing going on during an inauguration.
It is. I hope we don't have a 21-gun salute inside here today, but maybe outside. But yes, during the Governor Clement's inauguration, I think it was 1963, the cannon actually set the grass on fire, and the National Guardsmen had to be called in to stomp out and put out the fire.
Now, some of the speeches have been long, some of the speeches have been short. What's the shortest speech that's ever happened at an inauguration?
Well, there was one that actually didn't happen at all. Willie Blount, the third governor, was asked to speak at his inauguration, and he didn't even come to the ceremony. He said that he sent a note to the legislature saying that he was not accustomed to making public addresses, so he didn't.
How does somebody get elected governor without making speeches?
I don't know. That's a different day, I guess.
Now, the ceremony itself, is it pretty traditional, or has it changed over the years?
The ceremony changes every year in terms of the surrounding activities, but as far as the oath that the governor uses, it is pretty standard. There have been a few additions and subtractions over the years. The most notable was Governor Jimmy Jones. They called him Lean Jimmy Jones because he was tall and thin. He actually added into his remarks or his oath that he would prevent dueling in Tennessee.
And of course, that means shooting at each other.
Yes.
That doesn't happen much anymore.
No, fortunately.
There are a lot of celebrities in the crowd, a lot of political heavyweights. There you see Marsha Blackburn, the senator, and we also have former governors. Is it typical to have, how many people come that are involved in state government?
Well, I think everybody who's involved in government and wants to be involved in government tries to come to the inaugural.
A couple of things that we're going to see, of course, is the joint session, and that will occur, and when they convene, then we'll have the Tennessee State Supreme Justice come in and present the oath. There's Lamar Alexander. We also have there's Phil Bredesen, former governors, all lined up there.
Yes.
So a couple of other things that we want to talk about is there seems to be a lot of people around that will have a military band. What other things can we expect to see today?
Well, I think you'll hear, of course, some speeches because that's part of what politicians do, as well as introductions of notable guests. And I believe there will be music from a choir today as well.
Okay. When was the last time that the inauguration was rained out and moved to a different venue?
I'm not certain, not within my recollection, although I do remember that Governor Alexander in one of his inaugurals, it took place outside in the rain and he was drenched. There was also an inauguration that was taking place outside in very cold weather when Winfield Dunn was inaugurated. It was so cold that his glass of water on the podium froze while he was up there.
It's a good thing he didn't need to take a drink of water during that. And also, the last inauguration for Bill Haslam was outside. It was a little windy and cold from what I remember. We were set up on what's called the bridge over there between TPAC and Legislative Plaza. Bearable, but a little chilly.
Yes, it's sort of unfortunate for staging purposes that the inauguration takes place in January because weather is such a big factor. That hasn't always been the case. Inaugurations have taken place very many different months of the year over time as the state's calendar has changed.
One thing I noticed too was the outdoor setup didn't have covers, so the stage wasn't covered. Our broadcast point wasn't covered, so I'm very happy we moved inside.
Yes, I think it was a good decision this year.
So let's talk a little more about the State Museum, because that's a new thing that a lot of people haven't seen, and it's free to the public today. Is that right?
It is. The museum will be open until 5 o'clock today. The museum was formerly located in the basement of the Polk office building, and although many school children visited it, it was hard for others to get to or even to know about. So this new location down on the mall with ample parking and great walking spaces in and around makes it a great place to visit. There on the screen you see the suit that Governor Brownlow, the first post-Civil War governor, wore to his inauguration. That is a watch given by to John Sevier by William Blount, the territorial governor. And this is on display at the museum now. It's actually a lock of James K. Polk's hair. He was governor before he was president. And here's a sword belonging to Sam Houston. And Governor Bob and Alf Taylor were brothers who ran against one another and each served as governor at different times. This is an image of the museum as it is today. It's a beautiful building right at the corner of Jefferson and 8th Avenue.
James K. Polk, of course, is buried on the grounds of the Tennessee State Capitol.
Yes, he is.
There's been some controversy over that, on whether they were going to move that to his hometown or keep it at the state capitol.
Yeah, I think that controversy is still simmering.
Full house, as expected, at War Memorial Auditorium. We're just a few minutes away from the start of the inauguration of the 50th governor of the state of Tennessee, Bill Lee. We have a lot of influential people in the state of Tennessee gathering here today. This building itself is quite a place. If you haven't been at War Memorial, it's kind of a forgotten piece with all the different auditoriums we have in town right now. But the history of this building, as you walk around up and down the halls, you see the pictures of Dwight Eisenhower and John F. Kennedy, Richard Nixon, and many others that have stumped in this building.
Yes, it is a very historic building and a beautiful one. It's recently undergone renovation, so the auditorium is again what it was in its early days, and it's a beautiful place for public events like this.
And they did a fantastic job in a short period of time. It looks great in here. The seating is all put down. We came in on Thursday to position our cameras, and this building wasn't made for TV.
No. I guess we should say it's a war memorial building to World War I veterans, so it was built in the 1920s and 30s.
Right, so our crew did a fantastic job of getting camera positions built and set up around this auditorium and not being in the way of any of the people that want to see the inauguration of the governor of Tennessee.
That's a difficult task, I'm sure.
Yeah, it feels exciting in here, as always. There's nothing like an inauguration. I enjoy being a part of this. And what is one of the most memorable things that you remember going through the years of inaugurations?
Well, in many of the things that I've studied, I think one very interesting fact is that Sam Houston, in a day when everybody wore a black suit, did not. To his inauguration, he wore a beautiful beaded Indian jacket with a sash around it because, as most people know, he was raised by the Cherokee. Even though he was a white man, he was eventually elected governor of Tennessee. Didn't last very long. He fell out with his wife and went to Texas, where he became governor again.
What are some of the key artifacts that you've seen in the State Museum?
Well, there are many beautiful objects on display, including some images from the State Library and Archives. And it's hard to choose a specific thing that I like best. It's sort of a visual feast to visit the museum and see all that's available.
You know, a lot of people will get a chance to see that today as it's open for free. Also, we have Governor Bill Haslam, who had 2 terms in office, who will be speaking and giving his farewell address today.
Yes, I think that Governor Haslam is leaving on a high note and turning over the reins to someone he trusts. So I think we're going to have a peaceful transition of government.
Seems to have kind of been the theme that, you know, Tennessee's in a good spot right now, and we have nowhere else to go but up. So they're going to keep trying to move forward with the state of Tennessee. Of course, education, healthcare, transportation. There's a lot of issues that still need to be addressed and continuing to move forward. And the website for all the inauguration events is believeintn.com. So there's another thing. And a lot of people haven't toured the executive residence, and the open house is tomorrow. I believe it begins at 11 o'clock, and it's open to the public. You can go through and tour the executive residence, which is a unique experience in itself. There's been a lot of refurbishing going on there, and over the years. They've built the underground portion of the executive residence, and that's pretty impressive to go through.
It's a beautiful old home and a wonderful opportunity for the public to visit if they haven't been there.
And Bill Haslam, when he had his inauguration last time, he stood in the executive residence and shook the hands of everybody that came through, got pictures made, and I believe that's going to be the same thing that's going to happen tomorrow.
The sign of a real gentleman.
All right. We're just a few minutes away from the inauguration of Bill Lee. We see representatives of the State House and legislation. The rest of the seating was open to the public, so it was first come, first serve. Many people waiting in the miserable weather to get in here today, but it seems like everyone is in place, and we're just a couple of minutes away from the inauguration of the 50th governor of the state of Tennessee, Bill Lee. We have mayors from around the country. We have a lot of people from the legislature that moved into different jobs, both county mayors and others that we see. Some of the Democratic leadership formerly in the legislature, now mayors, and they've got prime seating here. Quite an event. They're just about to start. The swearing-in ceremony will come after Governor Haslam's farewell address. And we're quite excited to see what Bill Lee has to say here on his inauguration address as far as some of the things he's talked about, building vocational education, of course, improving health care. There's a lot of things that Bill Haslam was focused on in the education realm that have come to fruition, and Tennessee has made quite a lot of advances in education. So now we're looking to see what Governor Bill Lee is going to do. One of the things he's talked about is vocational technical education, healthcare training, also agriculture training that will allow people in Tennessee to pursue careers without having to go the traditional college route. So the colleges, junior colleges, have all seen a big rise in their enrollment in the Haslam administration, the Drive to 55, and other key initiatives that were put into place. And so Bill Lee wants to continue those, as well as building some of his own to create his legacy. Full house here at War Memorial Auditorium in downtown Nashville, Tennessee. In case you just joined us, the outdoor portion of the inauguration has moved from Legislative Plaza here into War Memorial Auditorium. And so much more comfortable than it would have been had we been outside. We have a full house. And just a couple of minutes before we move to the stage. A lot of people getting pictures, getting ready to go.
One interesting thing that we often work with at the State Library and Archives is making sure those 3-star symbols are positioned correctly. You may notice that the 2 stars are on top and one slightly skewed at the bottom. Right. It's very, very sensitive matter that no single star be preeminent or in the top position, because that would indicate that one of the 3 divisions of Tennessee would be superior to the others. So we always try to make sure that the 3 stars are positioned correctly.
So the 3 stars of Tennessee represent Middle, East, and West Tennessee.
They do, yes.
And which one is which?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We just know that none of them can be on top.
That's right. They're all share their prominence in the state flag. And there's a lot of traditional things that are going to happen in this ceremony. We're just a few short minutes away. Chuck Sherrill has been our guest here, and we really appreciate you joining us as we get ready for the inauguration of Governor Bill Lee.
Thank you, Chip. My pleasure.
All right. Chuck Sherrill has been our guest, and we're just about to move into the opening ceremonies as we get started here. And let's go to the stage for the opening of the joint convention and the inauguration of Governor Bill Lee.
Come on up here. Pursuant to House Joint Resolution 10, this joint convention shall come to order. Senator Johnson, you're recognized for a motion on the roll call.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move you, sir, we dispense with the roll call of the Senate.
Without objection, the roll call of the Senate is dispensed with. Senator Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we dispense with the roll call of the House.
Without objection, the roll call of the House is dispensed with. Senator Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated 28106A and TCA 218-101, I move the Joint Convention adopt the report of the Joint Select Committee to canvass the returns of the governor's election.
Representative Lambert, you're recognized.
Mr. President, I second the motion to adopt the report.
Pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated 2-8-106A and Tennessee Code Annotated 2-18-101, all those in favor of adopting the report of the Joint Select Committee to canvass the returns of the governor's election, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes prevail. The report is hereby adopted. Will the clerk, Chief Clerk of the Senate, please come forward and read the resolution stating the purpose of the convention?
House Joint Resolution 10 by Representative Lambert, a resolution to call a joint convention of the House of Representatives and the Senate for inauguration of Bill Lee as governor of the state of Tennessee, to provide for the adjournment of the 111th General Assembly organizational session, and to provide for the convening and recess of the 2019 regular session of the 111th General Assembly. Whereas Tennessee Code Annotated Section 8-1-101 provides, quote, the governor shall take the oath of office on the first Saturday following the 14th day of January next following the governor's election, after the commencement of the organizational session of the General Assembly as established by the Constitution of Tennessee, Article 2, Section 8. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 111th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the Senate concurring, that the House of Representatives and the Senate shall meet in joint convention on Legislative Plaza on Saturday, January 19, 2019, at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time for the purpose of inaugurating Honorable Bill Lee as governor of the State of Tennessee. Be it further resolved that a joint committee comprised of members of the House of Representatives and the Senate be appointed by the respective speakers to escort the Honorable Bill Lee to the podium to be inaugurated as governor of Tennessee. Be further resolved that the 111th General Assembly, the organizational session, stand in adjournment at the close of business on Saturday, January 19th, 2019.
Thank you. I hereby appoint the following committee to escort the Honorable Bill Haslam, Governor of the State of Tennessee, and First Lady Chrissy Haslam to the platform: Senator Gilmore, Senator Gresham, Senator Jackson, Senator Kelsey, Senator Nicely, Senator Stevens.
Representatives DeBerry, Hofford, Curtis Johnson, William Lamberth, Marsh, and Cameron Sexton.
The chairman of the committee will be Representative Curtis Johnson.
Mr. President and members of the Joint Convention, it is my honor to present to you the governor of the great state of Tennessee, Bill Haslam, and First Lady Chrissy Haslam.
appoint the following committee to escort the Honorable Bill Lee, Governor-elect of the state of Tennessee, and Mrs. Maria Lee, First Lady designated, to the platform. Senator Ackberry, Senator Hale, Senator Johnson, Senator Watson, Senator Yeager, Senator Yarborough.
Representatives Holt, Lynn, Reedy, Sherrill, Window, Zachary.
The chairman of the committee shall be Senator Hale. Chairman Hale, you're recognized.
Mr. President, members of the Joint Convention, it is my honor to present to you the Honorable Bill Lee, Governor-elect of the state of Tennessee, and Mrs. Maria Lee.
Will the Joint Convention please rise for the presentation of the colors by the Tennessee National Guard and remain standing while the invocation is led by Steve Berger, pastor of Grace Chapel. After the prayer, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and the singing of the national anthem.
Left, face.
We will now be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag by Adam DeQuan Smith. Mr. Smith, you're recognized.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. To honor America with the singing of the national anthem, please welcome Daly and Vincent.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And
We,
Forward, march.
we'll now have the invocation led by Steve Berger, pastor of Grace Chapel. Please remain standing. Pastor Berger.
Let's pray together on this beautiful, awesome, historic day. Heavenly Father, we are thankful for your faithful presence among us. We're thankful for this incredible nation and the great state of Tennessee that we love and are privileged to live in. We're grateful that in the founding and forming of these United States that you have been recognized and revered. From the Mayflower Compact of 1620 to the Declaration of Independence of 1776 to the Constitution and Bill of Rights of 1791 to the Tennessee State Constitution of 1870, you have been justly acknowledged and honored. Our framers credited you with being our creator and the giver of the unalienable rights and blessings that we enjoy. President Lincoln rightly declared that we have been the recipients of your choicest blessings. It would benefit us to confess, however, that we have not always responded to your blessing appropriately. We have sinned against you and one another. For our sins, we genuinely beseech your forgiveness to cleanse us and your power to grace us so that we don't repeat our shortcomings. Now, we pray for your servant, Governor-elect Bill Lee, and First Lady-designate Maria Lee. Almighty God, strengthen and inspire their existing commitment and devotion to you. Lord, bless and protect their marriage and their family. Father, anoint Bill with the knowledge of what's right, the wisdom to execute it, and the courage to complete it, regardless of the cost. May your word, will, and ways direct them as they navigate the often turbulent and unrelenting waters of political life. Be their encouragement in tough times, their humility in victorious times, and their focus at all times. Father, we know your word says that when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. We pray, therefore, for a generous outpouring of righteousness and rejoicing from Johnson City to Memphis and all points in between for all Tennesseans. Now, respecting people of all faiths or no faith, I humbly submit this prayer to you, Father, in the name of Jesus, who taught us to pray together, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Berger. It's my honor to present to you a dedicated public servant who always puts the state of Tennessee above himself, a man who makes sure that prosperity is shared throughout the state and across all grand divisions, a man who will leave state government better than he found it. Fellow Tennesseans, the Honorable Bill Haslam, Governor of the state of Tennessee.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please have a seat. Thanks.
Let me start by thanking someone who has served this state amazingly well for the last 8 years in more ways than I can tell you. Please help me thank the wonderful Chrissy Haslam. So in about 2 hours, Chrissy and I are going to be getting in a car and heading east on I-40. Two things to know about that. Number one, I haven't driven in 8 years. So if you happen to be going to Knoxville or Johnson City or Bristol somewhere, you might want to get a head start on us. The second thing to know is this, and I will try not to choke up when I say this, but there won't be two more grateful people anywhere than the two in that car. For the last 8 years, we have loved every bit of doing this, and I can't thank you enough. Every day, I have walked up to the steps to the Capitol and thought, as David says to God in 2 Samuel, "Who am I, Lord, and who is my house that you have brought me here?" I felt that every day that I got to do this job, and I always will. So to the people of Tennessee, know I am forever grateful. This is a great state. For every one person that takes a cheap shot on social media, there's 100 that send encouraging, thoughtful notes. For every one that seems to live a life that's just about themselves, there's 100 that rush to help when there's a tornado or a wildfire, military is deployed, or school children are in a bus wreck, or whatever it is. There is 100 that respond for every one that disappoints you. Three things I'd like to say, and then I'm going to sit down and we are going to get about inaugurating a great man. The first is this. One of my favorite quotes is by Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes. He said, "This is the mighty joy in life, to be a force for good, instead of a selfish, feverish clod of ailments, complaining that the world won't make you happy." You know, there's a lot of discussion going on about all the change in Tennessee. We have, a new governor, a lot of new legislators, and new leadership. And the question always becomes, well, who's got the power now? What's going to happen? Who's going to hold the reins of power? I hope the question becomes, who's going to seek good the most? And who is going to serve the best? Because this is a great state that we are honored to live in and that we are called to serve. The second point I would make is this. Tennessee will lead. If we're a state that can become the fastest improving state in the country for K-12 education results, the first state to figure out how to give everybody 2 years free of community college or technical school, a state that can have a GDP that rises faster than any of our neighbors, and a state that can figure out how to have low taxes and low debt and still provide for our most vulnerable citizens, then we can lead. Governor Lee, you're going to find something. All these great folks that you've hired are going to be incredibly loyal to you. When you're right, they're going to be really loyal to you, and when you're not right, they're still going to be loyal to you. During the campaign, when somebody would say something about, Tennessee can do this better, we can do this, our folks would get all offended, like, I can't believe it. Let them come try it, and we'll see how they do. But you know what? They're right. And so when Governor Lee talked through the campaign about Tennessee can better, he was dead right, and we can be. Governor Bredesen told me, hopefully you remember this, about his last day in office. I said, any last piece of advice? He says this, we don't expect enough of ourselves. We can believe in better. And that has been Governor Lee's message, and it is so true. So work with Governor Lee to believe in better and be the kind of state that Tennessee really can be. And that leaves me to the last thing I would like to say about who you have elected governor. Way to go, Tennessee. Way to go. Mark my words, Bill Lee will be a great governor. 8 years, not 4 years, 8 years from now. We will be paying tribute to the great job. You go, well, how do you know that? He hasn't done the job. Well, I know that because I've seen him. I've seen him hire a great team of people. And to all of you who are joining the Lee administration, you're coming to work with a great group of people. I've already seen him recruit business to Tennessee. I've already seen him begin to wrestle and understand the budget. But even more than that, I've seen the courage of his convictions, whether it be through a campaign or just living life. Bill has faced some of the hardest things that life can handle, and he came up not feeling sorry for himself and having a pity party, but saying, how can I serve? So Bill, Godspeed, my brother. Chrissy and I woke up and did what thousands of other Tennesseans did this morning before we came here. We woke up and prayed for you and Maria. We will be praying for you and cheering for you. We're grateful to have, you don't get to pick your successor in this job, but I can't think of anybody else that we are more excited to turn over the keys to this wonderful state that we love and call home. Thank you so much for allowing us to do this.
Right now, the band is filling a little bit, and the reason for that is that the governor can't get inaugurated until noon. Lane Arnold, the governor's press secretary, is with us here. And is that the reason for the delay?
That is the reason. It's a great excuse to enjoy all the pageantry, though, this afternoon as we wait a few more minutes for the governor to take the stage and be sworn in.
Bill Haslam's comments, he got emotional a couple of times, and it's very obvious that he really likes Bill Lee.
Yes, they have a fantastic relationship. The governor has made a point to really, really mentor him as we've gone through this transition process.
A couple of other things I noticed there. You don't even think about it, but the governor hasn't driven in 8 years, and he said he's getting ready to head down I-40, and so that could be interesting.
Absolutely. You know, you got to love Governor Haslam's sense of humor. And speaking of Knoxville, I hear Rocky Top gearing up for the crowd, and a lot of enthusiasm in this room right now.
I wonder if they're going to play a song for Vanderbilt after this.
You know, if they were fair, they would do that, right?
It's a great sight to see all the former governors up there. I saw Don Sundquist and Winfield Dunn and Bill Bredesen and all the old former governors lined up there.
Yes, so we have all of the living former governors in attendance today. It was particularly special to have Governor Winfield Dunn here. He's approaching 96, and so we are thrilled that he could make it out as well. And, you know, it's an honor that they would all join us on stage today. There's so much wisdom there. They've all been incredibly supportive of the governor-elect through this process.
Winfield Dunn's an amazing guy. I met him probably 35 years ago, and you don't see him for 10 years, and he calls you by name. It just amazes me.
Absolutely.
I don't know how he does that.
He and the governor-elect really have that in common, both just an incredible interpersonal ability to connect with people, and just remember personal points and say hello again even 10 years later.
Just got a couple of more minutes now. The band is entertaining the crowd. We're waiting for the oath of office, which of course can't take place until 12 noon according to Tennessee state law.
Yes.
What did you think about the comments from Bill Haslam? Shorter than we expected, obviously.
Absolutely. So we've been with him a lot in the last few weeks, and it really captured the sentiment of his last few days in office. The governor-elect had the opportunity to travel to Detroit with him this past weekend on a job announcement for Tennessee, and he also got to announce the addition of 1,000 jobs with a VW expansion in Chattanooga. And during that time together, the governor was very sentimental, and you could tell it was really time for the changing of the guard, and just was in good spirits, so refreshed. I think he and the First Lady are ready for their next chapter, and we've so appreciated their help during this process.
And speaking of the next chapter, it's been announced that he's going to wait a little while and take a little time off before he decides what his next step is going to be.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think that rest is well deserved. Absolutely.
Back to the stage we go.
Mr. President, Glenn Cassida.
Thank you. The oath of office will now be administered by the governor-elect of the state of Tennessee, the Honorable Bill Lee, by the Chief Justice of the Tennessee Supreme Court, the Honorable Jeff Bivens.
Governor-elect Lee, are you ready to take the oath of office?
Yes, I am.
Please place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I, William Byron Lee,
I, William Byron Lee,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that as governor of the state of Tennessee,
that as governor of the state of Tennessee,
I will support the Constitution of the state of Tennessee
I will support the Constitution of the state of Tennessee
and the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the United States,
and that I will perform with fidelity
and I will perform with fidelity
and faithfully execute
the
duties of the office of governor
the duties of the office of governor
to which I have been elected
and
which I am about to assume
to
the best of my skill and ability.
to the best of my skill and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lord. In 1796, a man and his young family made their homestead on the banks of the Cumberland River just up the way from here. That was the year that the great state of Tennessee was founded. And 223 years later, and 50 governors later, we stand here on the banks of the Cumberland River, celebrating our history and anticipating our future. Thank you for that welcome and introduction. Thank you so very much. I'm honored to be here with Governor McNally, Speaker Cassada. Thank you. Welcome. Members of the General Assembly, I genuinely look forward to working with you in the days ahead. Former governors, justices of the Supreme Court, members of our congressional delegation, and all fellow Tennesseans who have joined here in the War Memorial Auditorium, where it's warm and dry, and all across the state. Thank you for sharing in this really special moment. I want to make a couple of acknowledgments. I would not be here today if it weren't for God's gift to me, my wife, Maria. Throughout the past 2 years of campaigning, Maria's been constantly by my side. She's been steadfastly committed, steadfastly loved me, and in the process, she has steadfastly fallen in love with the people of Tennessee and has committed to them as well. She will make a remarkable First Lady. Thank you, Maria. I also want to thank my family, who occupy a large section of this. And I want to thank my mother for being here. Ann Lee, who for 4 generations has been the foundation of the Lee family. My children and their spouses and their families. Jessica and Jacob and Caleb and Sarah Kate. You all have loved me well for many, many years. We have loved each other well through many, many things. But in the last couple of years, you've made great sacrifices. And I'm grateful for that. And your dad loves you even more than ever. I'd also like to take my own opportunity to thank Governor Bill Haslam and his wife, Chrissy, for their tireless service to the state for the past 8 years. Standing here in our state's capital, we see reminders of your administration's success everywhere. Growth and opportunity can be seen on every corner. From education to economic development, you've laid a foundation, a remarkable foundation that we get to build upon. We're the envy of many states, and it's in large part due to your remarkable leadership. And we, all of us in Tennessee, thank you, and Chrissy, and thank you for doing that for me. That man that I spoke of that settled his family on the banks of the Cumberland the year that this great state was formed, that man's name was Charles Braxton Lee. And he was my 7th great-grandfather. And we stand here today, beneficiaries not of great governments of the past, but of the lives of the great men and women who have come before us. Men and women who forged difficult lives on the frontier, who formed small towns and eventually larger cities, people who cleared the land and planted crops and built businesses and worked in factories and created industry and created a state, like it says on our seal, a state of commerce and agriculture, a state that now stands as one of the most prosperous in the nation. And it didn't just simply happen. It wasn't inevitable. It happened because of men and women who came before us. Men and women who educated our children in one-room schoolhouses and then built an education system. Men and women who cared for our sick in the frontier and then built clinics and then hospitals and then a health system. Men and women who protected us and built a system of justice and law. Circuit riders who traveled this state and built a community of faith. It happened because of men and women who sacrificed in wars from the Revolutionary War to today. And it happened because of men and women who struggled to overcome injustices and inequalities in our society, from slavery to suffrage to civil rights. And most of all, it happened because of the favor of God Himself. In spite of our inadequacies and our weaknesses, He was strong on our behalf. And He has blessed us indeed. And as governor of Tennessee, I will daily ask for His wisdom and for His guidance and for His direction. And we will need that wisdom, for in spite of the great favor that He's shown us, in spite of the great blessings that we have great challenges in front of us. Tennesseans, we stand in one of the great states in all of America, but our greatness has never come from what one individual has done. Our greatness has always come from the collective lives and service and commitment and sacrifice of those who have come before us, because of what we have always done as a people together in community with each other, in service to our state and to our neighbors. Last year, Maria and I drove back and forth all across this state to every corner of Tennessee. And we found out something. No matter whether you live in the hills of East Tennessee or the fields of West Tennessee, or whether you live in a small town or downtown, people want the same thing: a good job, a good school for their kid, and a safe neighborhood. And it's true. We have good jobs and great prosperity here. We have record low unemployment. We have record low taxes. Companies are moving here. Businesses are building here. We have great prosperity, as I said, on every corner. And yet we have 15 counties in poverty, all rural, all Tennesseans. We have some of the most distressed zip codes in America, right in the heart of our greatest cities. So when we consider our state, we see how fortunate we are and yet we also see how much we have to do. Not only do Tennesseans want a good job, but Tennesseans want good schools for their kids, and we have made tremendous progress in this state in education, in part due to great education governors that have gone before me. In fact, Tennessee has the highest rate of improvement in educational outcomes of any state in the country. And yet, we're still in the bottom half of states. Now, I believe that education is much more than a test score. It's about preparation of a child for success in life. And a resurgence of vocational and technical and agricultural education and the inclusion of civics and character education combined with reforms will take Tennessee to the top tier of states. And Tennesseans do want good jobs and they do want good schools, but they also want safe neighborhoods. And while most of our communities and our neighborhoods are safe, our violent crime rate is rising in every major city in our state. We can be tough on crime and smart on crime at the same time. And for violent criminals and for traffickers, justice should be swift and it should be certain. But here's the reality. 95% of people sitting in a jail or prison cell in the state of Tennessee are coming out into our communities. And right now, half of them will recommit a crime and go back in the first 3 years. We need to help nonviolent offenders re-enter society, not re-enter prison. I believe that we can do it. I believe that we can create safer neighborhoods, good jobs, better schools all across our state. These are just a few examples of the challenges that we face. And there are many other challenges that we can't ignore either. An opioid epidemic that's ravaging Tennessee. Too few Tennesseans have access to health care that they can afford. Our rural communities are struggling. Yes, these are the challenges of our day, and history will judge us based on how we meet them. As honored as I am to be your next governor, no governor will solve the problems. In fact, no government will solve the greatest problems that we face. Government's not the answer to our challenges. Government's role is to protect our right, our liberty, and our freedom. And I believe in a limited government that provides unlimited opportunities for we, the people, to address the greatest challenges of our day. The truth is that most of the things that have created the greatness of Tennessee don't have much to do with government at all. Our strength has always come from our people, like those first Tennesseans who came here with hope and who worked together to create this great state. You know, we're famous for our 3 grand divisions of East and West and Middle, and as evidenced by the 3 stars on our flag. But it's important to remember, however, that that circle around those stars represents the unity of our state. And I believe that Tennesseans have much more that unites us than divides us. And I believe that one way that we do unite is by following the commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. In fact, I believe it's a key to American greatness. Our greatness has never come from government compulsion or power. It's always come from our love for each other and our commitment to our fellow citizens and to our neighbors. If we remember that commandment and walk in that spirit, our greatest days will always lie before us. Thank you. So much has changed over the past 223 years, but some things haven't changed at all. Once again, we stand here Tennesseans on the banks of the Cumberland with great challenges and great opportunities, as much in need of the wisdom and favor of God as ever, and with a continued deep commitment to each other. These last few months, I've thought an awful lot about Braxton Lee and about those first Tennesseans. I wonder what they told each other when they had to deal with their struggles. And I think a lot about who they were. They were strong and courageous, and they were faithful, and they were committed, and they were certain. They were Tennesseans. And I've also thought a lot about our descendants, 7 generations from now. What will they say of us? Were we strong and courageous? Were we faithful? Were we committed? Were we certain? Did we come together to meet the challenges that we face with courage and optimism and a belief in each other? If we meet the challenges of this moment, they too will say of us, they were Tennesseans. Thank you for this great honor. May God bless each one of you, and may God bless the great state of Tennessee. Thank you.
Honorable Bill Lee is duly, legally, and constitutionally inaugurated as the governor of the state of Tennessee for 4 years. Will the members of Governor Lee's cabinet please rise to receive the oath of office? Cabinet members, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the state of Tennessee and the Constitution of the United States. And I will perform with fidelity and faithfully execute the duties of the office to which I have been appointed and which I am about to assume. So help me God. Please rise for the benediction, and we will pronounce the founder and president, the Caleb Company, Dr. Don Finto.
What better way to end this really outstanding occasion than to use the personally worded benediction blessing of the Almighty Himself. It appears in Numbers, the 6th chapter in our Bible. And it's the words that God gave Moses to give to Aaron, with which to bless all future generations of Israel. But since those of us who are followers of Jesus all see ourselves as grafted into the family of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and into the family of Israel, we don't replace them, but we share in those blessings. And the Lord said to Moses, when Aaron prays this, or future generations, I will put my name upon them. And so as I speak this, first of all in English, we know this well, most of us. God has said He would put His name on you. Let Him inscribe on your heart, on your brow. Let Him inscribe Himself on you. And here's the benediction. The Lord bless you. He's the only one who can. We can't bless ourselves. No person really can bless, not with the strength of the Almighty. And keep you. We need kept. The Lord make his face shine upon you. You have to get close enough to him that he radiates in and through you and be gracious to you. Pour out his grace, his power, his energy on you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom, which is a deeper peace than our word peace. It's the saturation peace, not just the absence of war, but our whole being saturated with peace. And so may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. And now, in the language, as nearly as we know, that in which it was given, Yevarechacha Adonai vayishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav alecha v'chonecha, Yisa Adonai panav alecha vayasem lecha shalom. And if you'd allow me to even to chant it, as it so often is done in synagogues around the world, there seems to be some kind of authority weighted in this benediction. Yevarechacha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav alecha v'chonecha, Yisa Adonai panav alecha vayasem lecha shalom. And I'll bring that to you, Lord, in the powerful name of Jesus. Amen.
That's right. The purpose for which the joint convention was called having been accomplished, the joint convention stands dissolved. This concludes the inaugural ceremony. On behalf of the joint convention, thank you for joining us in making this inauguration of Governor Lee. The House and the Senate will meet separately so they conclude the organizational session. We are adjourned.
Bill Lee is now the 50th governor of the state of Tennessee. The oath of office has been taken. There will be inaugural balls tonight. There are several opportunities for citizens of the state of Tennessee to tour the State Museum and the State Library. That's free and open to the public today. Tomorrow, the executive residence will be open for an open house about 11 o'clock tomorrow. And I'm sure there'll be a good line for that, too. You'll get a chance to shake hands with the new governor of the state of Tennessee, Bill Lee. Joining us after here is Lane Arnold. Lane is the press secretary for the new governor, and how was that for you?
Great to be with you, Chip. Well, it's official now. You know, we're sworn in. I've been working with the governor-elect since the general, and so we've been striving for this day. It's finally here. It's real, and we're ready to move on to the business of governing.
Well, tell us a little bit about the speech. Did you see any of it beforehand?
Absolutely, yes. I was involved in that process, working with him. The governor had a really clear vision about what he wanted his speech to look like. He wanted this to be about honoring our Tennessee history as well as acknowledging our future plans and really casting a vision for where our state can go. He's been very intentional about saying that Tennessee can be a leader in the nation. And you will notice Believe in Tennessee is a big theme for Inauguration Day today, and we hope that was articulated well in his speech.
I thought it was interesting to hear about the history of Braxton Lee landing on the banks of the Cumberland River, and that was his seventh grandfather,
yes,
7 generations ago.
His seventh grandfather. He actually talked a lot about him on the campaign trail. The governor-elect, now governor, has mentioned that he's a 7th generation Tennessean, deep roots in Tennessee, and deep rural roots in Tennessee, and so a long history of farming and agriculture, and so that seal means something to the governor, commerce and agriculture.
A couple of things he pointed out here is the prosperity that's been going on. Lots of big companies moving to Nashville and to Memphis and to Chattanooga and to all areas of the state creating jobs. But he says there's a long way to go as well. He pointed out some of the rural areas that are suffering from poverty and some of the inner city zip codes that are struggling as well.
Absolutely. So 2 things that the governor talked talked a lot about on the campaign trail and will continue to talk a lot about is, we have 15 distressed counties in Tennessee, and so we crafted something called a rural roadmap that we look forward to presenting legislatively in the days ahead about how we can get rural areas where they need to be in our state and make sure that prosperity extends far beyond zip codes and urban areas, and that Tennesseans from all walks of life are experiencing that prosperity. And also the young man who gave the Pledge of Allegiance earlier, Adam, that is who the governor actually mentored in the inner city. And so Adam has been with the governor for probably, over 10 years now. They have a wonderful mentoring relationship, and so that's something that's very close to the governor's heart.
Of course, if you want to go see what the inauguration events are, the schedule and things available to the public, you can go to believeinTN.com. That will have, there it is on your screen, and that has all of the events that are going on today. Of course, the inaugural ball's tonight.
Yes.
And then the executive residence is open again tomorrow. Your last thoughts before we close out here.
Absolutely. Today has really gone off without a hitch. All of the moving parts we had with the weather, it couldn't have gone better. We're excited to be working with the General Assembly in the weeks ahead as we now move into legislative session, and look forward to working with you guys.
Tennessee has a new governor. His name is Bill Lee. We have a new cabinet. The new members of the Congress have been sworn in. The legislature is in place and ready to go to work. The inauguration activities continue throughout the day today, tonight, and tomorrow. Go to believeinTN.com if you'd like to check out that schedule. For Tennessee Public Broadcasting, and that concludes the joint convention of the 111th General Assembly for the purpose of swearing in the governor's 50th governor, Bill Lee. I'm Chip Hoback. Thank you for joining us for our live coverage on Tennessee Public Television.